My name is Katherine Sumrall, Real Estate with Katherine at Keller Realty here in Durango. And this series is called the 2M series, where every week I'm coming to you in a conversation respective to the marketplace and mindset. And so we're going to go over some perspectives respective to the high-level national economy. I do feel like there's some good content out there that I'd like to share with you. And then we'll dive into what's happening on a weekly basis with Durango and the Bayfield market. So I believe everyone here can see my screen, and we're gonna get going. So like I said, perspective is everything. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this series for you guys, for the community, is to provide sound real estate perspective. So I'm going to dive in here to 5 dynamics of the housing market that are different than 2008. And kind of some differentiators there, that our recession does not equal a housing crisis. So again, I think that that's really sound perspective as we head into navigating what this shift does look like. One of the chief economists at the National Association of Realtors quoted that the temporary softening of the real estate market will likely be followed by a strong rebound once the economic quarantine is lifted, and it's critical that supply is sufficient to meet demand. Okay, so 5 things I want to go over fairly quickly here, and then we'll jump into the to the local data. So appreciation. Leading up to the crash, we had much higher appreciation in our country than we are seeing today. You can see that in the graph here. I mean, significantly higher. The highest appreciation we've had in the last several years was lower than the lowest appreciation rate we had seen prior to the 2008 housing crisis. Mortgage credit. So again, the 2008 housing crisis was created in of itself, real estate and the mortgage industry. And so this is a metric where the mortgage credit availability index measures or gauges the level of difficulty to secure a loan. So the higher the index here, you can see the time frame. Well, it's really small, but this was 2006 leading into 2007. The higher the index, the easier it was to get a loan. This time frame represented the housing crash, at which point lenders really tightened up regulation on the availability of receiving financing. Number of homes sold. So the number one cause of the housing crash in 2008 was an oversupply of homes. Today we have less, nationally speaking, we have less than 6 months worth of supply, which equates to an undersupply of homes. Here, you hear the terminology buyer's market, seller's market. It's a reflection of how much inventory is on the market to meet demand. Today, we have lower inventory to supply the demand of our marketplace. The use of home equity. So this is an interesting conversation as well, that this tracks what was the refinance or cash out refinance market like as a reflection of then to now. I thought that this was really interesting because you see a tremendous delta here between what was happening back in those years leading up to the housing crisis, and then what was happening in the several years leading up to where we are today. There you go. I think those numbers are pretty clear. And then so home equity today. So in relation to the previous slide, this is also talking about the amount of equity that people have in their homes is very high. I mean, on a national level, we're seeing that the equity positions being at least, on median or on the average 50% equity. So we have cushion there. People essentially aren't underwater or potentially close to being underwater respective to the value of their home and what they owe. Okay, so diving into the first quarter statistics. These just were released here and they'll be released to the public here very shortly. So the number of homes sold in La Plata County was 10% over first quarter of 2019. Again, the number of homes sold in La Plata County was up over 10%. Number of homes sold in town Durango, that was up 25% over the first quarter in 2019. Number of homes sold in the Durango and townhome and condo market, that was actually down 12%. So really some interesting information there respective to those that are either selling a townhome or have a product such as a townhome or a condo to sell. It's worth certainly diving into that conversation a little bit more clearly. Number of homes sold in Bayfield rural market, that was up 10%. And then the homes sold in the Bayfield in-town market was up 33% over the first quarter last year. So as I had mentioned previously in various conversations with my clients, as well as on this platform, the first quarter of 2020 was very strong. And I anticipate that momentum to carry us through here as we head into this, into the second quarter and into the dynamics that are in play respective to COVID. Okay, so I'm going to just check in, make sure we don't have any questions going on. Okay, wonderful. So year over year, I think, again, perspective is the whole reason why I'm coming to you with this type of data so that we can make educated and informed decisions respective to your real estate goals. Year over year, I thought this was a really interesting visual for us to look at. New listings in this time frame, so from March 19th through yesterday, from the red line is here 2020, the blue line is 2019, so we can start to see how we were actually trending and where the discrepancies or the differences are between this time frame last year and today, this time frame today. We were relatively following the same trajectory, had a little bit of lull in new listings in the previous weeks. We started to see that uptick again here this past rolling 7 days. So same premise with looking at the pending market. So how many homes are pending? A buyer and a seller are coming into an agreement to sell a home. Pretty clear differentiator there, differential between 2019 and 2020. The sold market for Durango, this is again a lagging indicator of properties that have previously gone under contract. That median escrow period that we gauge is roughly 45 days, 30 to 45 days. And so we were we were, like I said, very strong. We continue to be hold that same general trajectory of closings. We are starting to potentially see maybe a variance there. But again, one thing to keep in mind as we do this, as time goes on, the more validity we will have in our data, because we will be able to track things, these numbers with more time involved. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks worth of data, so we're certainly starting to see some trends, and that will continue to provide us perspective as we move forward. So breaking it down into Durango in town, you can see that the in-town listings, this trajectory seemed to go, this is kind of how we were leading. This is again 2019, here's 2020. We are low on Durango in-town listings. So keep that in mind as you are evaluating your home, your goals this year. Right now we are low on inventory. And I would caveat here too, that it's important as you evaluate your personal real estate decisions that we look at what is happening in your price point as well. So continuing to narrow down and get really clear with the niche or the market segment of which you're operating in. Okay, Durango pendings. We started, 2019 again here in the blue, 2020 in the red. tracking similarly the same trend. You can see that we certainly are lacking on the pending activity. So the number of homes that are going under contract this time over last year, 2019, is lower. Durango in town sold. So started to see, again, I think the trajectory here started to give us some indication that we are tracking similar to 2019. It's, you know, same premise. I think as we follow through, you can still see here that there's a differential between the amount of homes that are selling last year versus today. And again, I think it's important that we continue to trend these numbers so that we can forecast and look to have an educated conversation relative to what is happening in real time the best that we can. One caveat here that I do want to say is this, for those that may not make it to the end of this video series or the end of this particular video, there is I do email out all this reporting plus a more detailed pricing segment breakdown. So if you are interested in that, I will post this link here on Facebook on this video series so that you can see, so that you can choose to receive that reporting if you would like. And again, in the reporting, I'm going to be sending out this content that I'm going over right now, as well as breaking it down into price point specific, which may be key as you evaluate what your real estate decisions or conversations and goals look like this year. Okay, so let's keep going here. Durango real estate, the rural market, new listings. So the Durango rural segment of the marketplace has been moving quite strong. We had more inventory coming on the marketplace than we did last year around this time. We did have some again a general decrease in that in this week of 2 weeks ago now, and that was across several segments. And we did still see that trend here in this last rolling 7 days that we are increasing inventory available, which is a good thing. Durango rural pendings, again, it's pretty clear that we're still that trend of being not as fewer pendings in the marketplace certainly is visible here as well. Sold activity, look, we had during this time frame, we were seeing more sold activity here in 2020. Started to see maybe that interesting to see how that will trend moving forward, and a little bit of maybe a decline here. Again, that could start to be reflective of this previous, what would be activity around this time frame. So as I said previously, the more that we track this data on a weekly basis, the more that we'll have the perspective and be able to make trending decisions for what we believe is happening. And you know, in a lot of conversations that I'm having right now, you know, emotion tends to lead. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty. People still feel that. People still feel that fear. And it's important to realize that we need to make educated decisions based on data and lean into that versus an emotional decision. Because there could be a differentiator there, of which I think you'll see personally as you evaluate what, you know, if you're in the in-town market, you know, we're low on listings. We need listings. That may counteract with the emotional feeling that you're feeling right now. So again, lean into the data, lean into the conversations that will help give you perspective. Durango real estate market. Overall, blue is new listings, reds are pending, and green are sold. So this last week, we had 13 new listings come on the marketplace. We had 5 go under contract, and 10 have closed. Bayfield has, I think, proven to be a little bit more, they're certainly more consistent across the board. We start to see more variation here. In the Bayfield market, we're seeing very consistent numbers. Durango in town. So out of that, the general in town or Durango inventory that came on the 13, 3 of them were in town listings. Those 3, not those particular 3 necessarily, but 3 of those of listings last week did pinned in town, and then we had 6 sold. The rural market, seeing inventory increase here, 8 new listings, 2 pinned last week, and 3 sold. And I think it's worthy to dive into these conversations more specifically as to what are we seeing as trends, what do we anticipate, you know, these next several weeks to look like, and of course that's the purpose of coming to you with this type of data so that we can have that conversation. Bayfield in town. Again, very consistent. We had 3 new listings from the marketplace, 2 went under contract, 2 sold. The rural marketplace in Bayfield, very similarly to on the market, 2 sold, and or I'm sorry, 2 went pending and 1 sold. And then we start to dive into the pricing breakdown. I'm not going to go into that. If you're interested in that, please do see the link that I posted, and you're more than welcome to put your email address in there, and you'll get this weekly reporting as to these metrics. And yeah. Okay, so unless we have any questions on the real estate component, I'm gonna keep on going here. So the next part of this series, again, the 2M series, is talking about, let's get going here, stop sharing. Okay, is talking about market and then mindset. And so for the mindset piece, what I'm doing here is going over this book called Shift. It's a business tactical book that evaluates how to thrive, or I'm sorry, how to survive in a shifting marketplace, and then in order to be able to thrive on the other end of this. And so there's 12 tactics. To review just the highlights of the tactics we've gone over previously. Tactic 1, get real, get right. It's mindset and action, making sure that you're in the right mindset to attack what you need to attack as far as actionables in your world, both personally and professionally. Tactic 2, remargin your business and expense management. Gosh, key is, you know, managing those fixed or variable expenses so that we can remargin, we can survive. Revenuing your way out of this is not the answer. Expense management is the answer. So again, I thought tactic 2 is so valuable to businesses and professionals and your families, like really taking a look at what are your cash flows going out? How can you remargin those? How can you cut back? What are the things that are necessary versus not? What are the things that are giving you the return? What are not? So tactic 3 is do more with less. And so this talks about leverage. When we discuss leverage in a business perspective, we're discussing systems or people. So we're no longer able to change when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. So cutting expenses and finding your margin doesn't necessarily mean slashing quality or delivering less. It does, however, demand getting the job done with less money available to do it. And this will create a dynamic, tension inside of your business. So yes, it does, however, demand getting the job done with less money available to do it, right? We still need to show up as business owners and as service providers, and we need to focus on the efficiencies of what we're delivering. So back to the basics. It talks about, hey, you know, in this type of environment, the key is going back to basics. What do all great business people do? You focus tightly on the basics. You do that by asking yourself 4 straight questions. What are my business priorities? When do I need to get them done? Who is the best person to do them? And finally, how should they be done? I thought those were certainly some really poignant questions that you could ask yourself or the business leaders in your team that you work with as to creating a plan around your business here now. So people, I talked about, so leverage in the form of people and or systems. So people begins with you. So before you like a look at others, take an honest look at yourself. Are you maximizing your own productivity? Are you doing what matters? And are you doing what you get paid to do? We got to take a hard look personally. Up markets can hide lesser talent because we predictably focus on our sales success in the moment and generally don't give the market enough credit for the role in our success. In fact, when it comes to people, up markets conceal and tough markets reveal. I thought that was very key. In the time right now that we're in tough market conditions, economically in various business sectors, and you're likely seeing or revealing some of the opportunities or the gaps that you have in the talent of your organization or in the systems. Where are those breakdowns, and what do we need to do about that? So when you look at your organization through a filter of a shifting market, you realize that no matter the circumstances, you only ever have one critical issue with people. You either have the right ones or you have the wrong ones. Right. Do you have talent in your organization that's leading you to where you need to go, or do you not? Capacity talent or real talent will see the shift as an opportunity to shine, and they will stand out in your organization. Always keep in mind that you can't do more with lesser talent, but with real talent, you can always do more with less. So encouraging from a leadership capacity, encouraging those in your organization that is your leadership team to step up, and you'll naturally start to see that happen with the people in your organization, and the talent will be validated. Okay. So when it comes to people, think first, when analyzing talent, think first assistants and assistants second. So what are your ancillary providers, your part-time, your subcontractors, your vendors, your affiliates, things like that? What are the assistance and support that supports your business? Options, you have a lot of options to restructure maybe those relationships. Maybe it's combining positions, cutting hours, moving to a more focus-based or commission-based, results-based compensation plan. So 7 steps to talent shift. I'm going to go over these real quickly. So sit down with your people and share your vision of your business. Tell them, be transparency and leadership is key. Where your business is today and where you're going. Second, number 2, visit with each person to see if they are with you and if they're willing to give it everything it takes to meet that set vision. Realign is number 3. Realign job descriptions around your core competencies. You might even consider moving away from job descriptions into task descriptions, which I thought was really interesting, because right now actionables and action matters, and the job description and what's being called of them now may be different than what was hired on that original job description. Set easy to measure tasks, standards, and activities for each person. Accountability, task descriptions, be very clear in what that accountability is. Establish a training schedule to make sure that everyone knows how to do it, what is expected of them. Training not only builds competency, but also confidence and positive expectations. So what opportunity do you have in your business to create a culture around to create maybe even a new culture in your business. What are the standards of which will become, what are the actionables and necessary mindsets now that may become standards in your company moving forward. Meet weekly to evaluate success and reach agreement on any corrective action. I mean, accountability is absolutely key, and yeah, period. Accountability is absolutely key. And then celebrate the small victories. Celebrate the individual wins as the team. Remember that rulemaking isn't nearly as productive as working from goals, action plans, and standards. Be aware that top-down imposed change can create frustration, fear, anxiety, unrest, and even resistance. So this is, yeah, work with your people and create a plan that you can hold them accountable to and that they buy into first off. So for people, we discussed what's called top grading people, evaluating your talent, making talent adjustments as needed in your organization. For systems, you upgrade systems. So now that you know what you need to do, you know when you need to do it, who you have doing it, it's time to tackle the systems and how things are getting done. Good times usually plant seeds of system inefficiencies that during tough times sprout into choking weeds of ineffectiveness. So again, back to in a fluid or up market, those inefficiencies likely are not being revealed because of the credit of the marketplace that you're in. We tend to add staff rather than improve systems and end up putting pressure on your budget instead of on your processes. Systems and processes are key in any business. Your procedures must be lean and must be mean. No more extra paperwork or no more, no more fluff. What's the necessity of what needs to be done? Remembering that complexity kills operations, and so keep things as simple as possible. So now more than ever, your personal actions, your people, and your systems must be focused on the 20%. So what is, Pareto's principle, what is the 20% of the actions needed that is going to create 80% of the results, the top 20% in your business? There's no time or money in doing the 80%. Just let it go. Focus on what are the 20% actionables that's going to lead you to your largest returns. So gosh, I appreciate coming to you guys. Thank you if you made it this far in the video. I will be sending this out in addition with the reporting. Again, if you would like to receive this content, please just go to Facebook. I have posted a link there. You'll want to sign up for that. If you have any real estate questions at all, know that I'm here to support you as your real estate partner and your community partner. Later on this afternoon, we have the conversation series coming to you where we're bringing in a certified financial planner to discuss financing in the markets and such. So have a wonderful Friday, and thank you again. This is Katherine Sumrall with Keller Williams Realty, Real Estate with Katherine. Take care.